Well, it's Wednesday, December 2nd, and I got off work a little early, and we're going to be working on the game table again. And what I've done is I set all the parts out as they're going to go together as a table, and now I'm starting to fit the tenon to the mortise, and I fit individually each pocket. They're not necessarily interchangeable, although they probably would, but I just like fitting one tenon to one mortise. So what I'll do is I'll show you a little bit how I go about fitting it, and these tenons are real close to the size they need to be, but basically all I'm doing is rounding off the corners a little bit, cleaning out the bottom of the mortise, and hitting them with the rasp just to make them just a tiny bit smaller. They're just a little bit tighter than what I like. So let me get the camera over here, and I think that's about where I'm going to be doing most of my work at. So here we go. I think I talked a little bit yesterday about the importance of getting all the parts exactly where you want them, and knowing how it's going to go together. Now, I'm hoping I'm on camera, and what I'm doing is just knocking the corner off the mortise, or I'm sorry, off the tenon, and you just don't want that sharp edge to be a problem when you're trying to fit it. And if there's any little pieces of what I call schmutz, which is just crap that gets caught up inside the joint, this is a place for that to escape to, so that won't stop you from getting your joint together. So I just take a little bit off each corner. Just knock down anything that's sharp and might eventually stop you from getting your joint together. Now, I already got this side done. Oh, no, I don't. I started to do it. And this walnut is pretty grainy. I mean, it has grain going through it, so if you're taking a little bit off the corner and you see the grains going the wrong way, I just use a rasp. Let me make sure I'm on camera here. Okay, that looks good. I've got all my joints marked. That's a D. That's the D there. That is the perfect fit. It's snug, and I'm not going to do anything more to it. I don't need to rasp it or anything. Let me check the other side. That's C and C. See, now that's, to me, that's just a tad bit too tight. but I'm going to go with it. It's just a little bit too tight. So all I'm going to do, so I'm just going to take my rasp and just rasp it a little bit. You know, I don't really care if that last eighth of an inch is a little tight. Well, that's good. But I just don't want the whole thing to be so tight. So that was my tenon. Now let me show you what I have to do to prepare the pocket. I'm going to try to, I'll get a close-up of this in a minute, but from the drill bit and chisel from the mortiser, in each corner there's a little bit of material that didn't get removed. So I'm just taking the chisel and knocking that out to get the final cleanup. So that was the corner. Now I just go in there, get the little chip out, and it pops right out. Do that to both mortises. And it's not much, it's just like a heavy 1/16, maybe an 1/8 at the most. And by rounding off the corners, it probably wouldn't even get in the way, but you don't want to take a chance. The other thing to keep in mind as far as the tightness goes is if things do start swelling up, you don't want the joint so tight that if it swells up, it's going to crack the leg. Okay, so that's nice and clean. So I would say that's step one. I'll take my tenon, match it up, E and E. See how this one fits. That's good. That's good. Let me get my mic out and just see what kind of tolerances we're looking at here. Okay, my tenon is 4.85 inches. The mortise is 4.95, so about 10 thousandths. So those of you that are really into measuring, about 10 thousandths. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the size of the mortise, how big the tenon is, how deep it is, and all that. But if you need a rule of thumb, there you go. Okay, let me finish preparing my tenon. A little bevel action. Get rid of the square shoulder. just a shaving. The shoulder that I'm trying, or the bevel, is probably about 1/16 of an inch. I just want to make sure it slips down into that pocket down in there. Alright, that one's all prepared. See, I got that there, but I got some really nice grain here. Unfortunately, I chose to use this side as my finished side, so I used some of that really nice grain. But I got an idea about using this type of grain as an accent on the piece, but we'll talk about that later. Alright, I'm going to go off camera to save some tape, and I'll be back with you when I get them all cleaned up. Okay, what I'm trying to show you here is this is the mortise in the leg. And what I'm trying to do is show you that the mortise is about an 1/8 inch deeper past the other mortise. So what I'm talking about is right in here, I think you can see that on camera, this is where the other tenon comes in, and you can see that down in here, it's actually, I tried to get an 1/8 inch deeper mortise. And what that's going to do is, what we're going to do is create a box joint inside of the table leg. And that box joint will actually go through past the tenon that it's mating to and actually lock in that little 1/8 inch pocket. And I believe that that is the strongest type of joint you can make when you have such short tenons on a little table like this. So, you know, whether or not I could have just mitered it and put it in there, or you know, ran one long and one short, or I suppose you could have dovetailed it if you wanted to get really crazy about it. But for me, I was looking for a little bit stronger leg than just a short little tenon with a peg in it, and this is what I came up with for the strongest leg that I can think of. So I've got all my mortise and tenons done. They're all fitting good. The next thing I'm going to do is set the table saw up to make these box joints. Hey everybody, okay, we're back, and what you're looking at is a box joint. This is a box I made, I don't know, just playing around one day, just to understand the concept of a box joint and basically figure out how to set the table saw up. And what you notice is that those joints are pretty darn tight there, and that kind of tolerance is not real easy to duplicate. But I'll tell you how I do it, and the important thing in a box joint, I think, or at least for me I should say, the important thing is understanding the concept of what a box joint is. And it's pretty simple. It's cuts that are pretty darn tight. It's hard to establish that, though. The way I do it is I have my dado set here, and I make a test cut, and then I use some sort of measuring device. I just find it easier to use a caliper, and I measure what the dado is. Now this is a half-inch dado, but it actually cuts about 0.51, 0.515. So it's a little over a half inch. So once you know what the dado is, then you have to somehow space the next cut that distance away from the dado. And depending on what kind of machinery or equipment you have, you know, there's different ways of doing it. With my table saw and with my fence, Bismarck fence, it's relatively easy to move the fence, you know, 15 thousandths or 30 thousandths. 30 thousandths is approximately a 32nd of an inch. So a 64th of an inch is approximately 15 thousandths. On my scale on the fence, it has 30 seconds. So if I set the indicator halfway between the 30 seconds, I'm at a 64th, which is approximately 15 thousandths of an inch. The tolerances that I can work with on the table saw are somewhere around 5 thousandths of an inch. With my equipment, my blades, and that. So, a little bit of math involved. Another thing that helps is having two fences. I have this fence here and this fence here. This fence here is set at 90 and it never gets moved. This is my go-to square up fence in the shop here. This fence here, I move it around. You know, if I want to cut a couple of degrees off 90 or 45 or something like that, this is the fence I use. This is just an auxiliary piece of wood that I put on here for this particular operation. So, this fence here has established my spacing. Here's the dado. This is the space. This is the same size as the dado. These ones on the end were my practice cuts trying to establish this dimension here. The other thing that you need to do is you need to cut a piece of wood that's exactly the size of the dado. And what that eventually does is that will fit in this dado, and that acts as the index for cutting the rest of the dados. And so that's pretty straightforward and simple. You might be wondering, well, what do you need this for? Well, you know, you have to start off the dado somewhere. You have to make that first cut. In my case, the tenon is 2 3/4 inches. So, you know, do I want to leave a 1/4 inch on each end? I decided to split the difference, so my first cut is actually 3/8. And what I have here is a 3/8 spacer block. And you'll see how I use that. Okay, so I've got 4 pieces here. I've got my two drawer fronts, and then I have what I'll call my 2 sides, or my two other aprons. Now, it's important that you don't get mixed up once you start doing this, because it's real important that you key or index off the same side when you start cutting. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. So my first, this was my sample piece here. I believe you can see these. I equally divided it up, or just kind of roughly divided it up. So this is going to go along the fence, and that will make my first dado. And once I get that first dado in, then I'll switch fences and use the other fence. Now, the side aprons, they have to get that 3/8 cut. So what I do is, here's my 3/8 spacer. That gets put in there, and then that makes my first cut. And you know, if I did everything correct, then it should work out. If I didn't, then we have to do something else. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this up, and I'm going to just take a little nick out of my piece here. And then I'm going to take the spacer out and run it into the blade again, and the blade should line up exactly on that cut. And if it doesn't, then that means that I got a little problem. But I haven't tested it yet, so let's just see how accurate it is and what kind of adjustments we have to make. and I don't know what happened, but I didn't use my gauge block that I thought I was going to have to use. Well, but it all worked. I guess the important thing is to understand the principle of it. So now I have my first starting cut. Now I can take my piece here and slide it in, and now that's my gauge block. I've got a little tear out on the back side, but let me start with my original piece. So here you go, you can see my original layout, or rough layout I should say, and it looks like it's going to be good. So here we go. Okay, so here's the joint. Now I cut the joint about a 1/16 of an inch deeper than what it needed to be, just so that I didn't have a problem with putting it together. But you can see how these pieces here protrude past the side, and you can imagine that this will be inside the leg. And I think I got a little bit of schmutz and cleaning up to do in there. Oh, I got it backwards. I don't know if these are the right pockets, so it may not go together. And there you go. So there's your mortise and tenon box joint. I hope this helps you out if you have a project where you're concerned about strength and that. Pretty cool, huh? Hey everyone. Well, you know, I was really happy with the way these turned out. And being the end of the day, I thought I'd have a cocktail while I sit here and whittle away at my ends and clean them up. And thinking about what the next stage is going to be on this. This for me is the for me is what woodworking is all about. I had this idea about this box joint tenon since I made my workbench, and I was glad I had the opportunity to do it here, even though this particular game table probably didn't need such a strong joint. But you know, that's how you learn how to do stuff, and that's why I say a lot of times, you know, you just do it. It doesn't matter if it needs to be done or not. For me, it's fun. I enjoy this. I guess I live for woodworking. And the next step for this whole thing is, you know, how do we finish it off now? The joinery's done. The only thing left to do is make the drawers and put the drawers together and stick them in the hole and then put a coat of finish on it. So from that perspective, if we wanted to, we could probably finish this up in a day or two, depending on how much time we got to work on it. But I have some ideas what I want to do, and for me, this is the ultimate fun time. And what I mean by that is, now that we got the bones of it done, how do we... Oh man, my camera. Here you are sitting here watching the ceiling. Okay, let's try this again. This time we'll lock it. We'll lock it in place. So, it's the fun time. It's the time when, you know, the project's, say, 80% done. You can put it together and finish it off, and it'd be a darn nice table. But, you know, how many times or how many chances do you have to build something really nice or really special? And I guess what I'm getting at is that I think that we can embellish the game table. And what I mean by that is I'd like to do possibly some carving, maybe some chip carving, maybe some texturing. We could do some inlay. We could make some medallions. We could try doing, I don't know, anything. You know, sky's the limit. Hell, it's only December 2nd. I got at least 3 more weeks before Christmas. I think what I'm going to do is go online and look for some ideas, but the idea I have is when I was picking through the walnut, I came across some pieces of wood that had a lot of texture to them. They were probably right at a crotch or a branch or something along that lines, but the wood is just highly textured. And I think what I'm going to try to do is to cut some of that textured wood out and do something with the grain to really make it pop. Maybe color it or stain it or dye it or something. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. And then do an inlay, because some of my glue-ups weren't the best, and I've got some seams that I'd like to hide. So I figured, what's a better way to hide the seams than put an inlay over them? So, thinking about that, another thing I've always liked to do is, I'd like to do a little bit of carving. Don't get to do any carving. Very few projects that you do can you do carving on. But I think this game table is, it's small enough that you can do a little bit of carving, not get tired of doing it. It's small enough that you can do some fancy stuff on it, not get tired of it, not take you know, a week to do something. Probably something you can do in a night. Just going to have to think about it. If you know, if I get this video up online and you guys have any ideas about you know, something to make it a little fancy, to make it pop, you know, send me an email or leave me a comment or something like that. But right now I'm thinking about an inlay of a medallion of some sort, or a burled wood. I think the drawer front would be a nice place where to do a little carving. I don't know, a flower and a leaf, or maybe an initial. Maybe, you know, carving of a checkerboard or something. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning these up and try to get it loaded to my upload site and get it on the blog site. And, you know, drop me a line. I'm sure tomorrow we'll be doing something else. See ya.